Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 of this list spotlight video for Terracon 2016, focusing on Khorne Demonkin. In parts 1 and 2, we kind of had a basic overview of Khorne Demonkin. I looked at some kind of ways to think about the blood tithe table and just the way in which you can lean on some of those strengths of Khorne Demonkin and the way in which it benefits from certain Chaos allies. In part 3, we're going to look at Jarrod Brehort's list that he's taken to Terracon. I played this list yesterday. It was pretty brutal, actually. I managed to scrape out a win with my Tau Eldar army that I am taking to Terracon, but it was a very high pressure game, and Jarrod really, forced me to make some really clutch assault moves, and really, was on my doorstep very quickly. So let's have a look at his list. Jarrod wrote this list a few months ago and has been really going for it in terms of modeling. It's looking really good. He's getting stuff finished now, which is, he has left it pretty late, but it's all coming together and looking really nice. Yeah, we had a discussion a few months ago, Jarrod and I, about this list and how he might really maximize the strengths of KDK. So we had a big discussion, and a lot of the points that came up in videos 1 and 2, Jarrod and I did discuss and hash over a couple months ago. I don't have too many suggestions for this list. But there are a couple of things that I think he could have done, which I'll discuss towards the end. But let's have a look and talk through the rationale of this list to start with. So we start with a KDK Command Arms detachment. He's got his Chaos Lord, which is the Warlord here, with the Lightning Claw Power Fist combo. That's a common combo because these weapons are both specialist weapons. So once you take that Power Fist, for 15 points more, you get +1 attack and the utility, flexibility to be able to use a Lightning Claw. So kind of a no-brainer, really, for 15 points. If a lot of Space Marine armies would take a Storm Shield instead of the Lightning Claw, but Chaos don't have that option. Instead, they take the Sigil of Corruption for the 4+ invulnerable. Juggernaut of Khorne, with all the special benefits there, really good. Has the cavalry type, so the unit it becomes has fleet. And Jarrod's going with Bloodforged Armor. Bloodforged Armor is... stats are up here. 3-up armor save and Eternal Warrior and Feel No Pain rules. So beyond power armor, which he comes with, all he really gets for 50 points is Eternal Warrior and FNP. In terms of the way it's costed, it is costed somewhat accurately. Eternal Warrior is normally about 30 points, 30 to 35 point upgrade. Feel No Pain for 15 points extra seems reasonable. But what I don't really like about this piece of armor is that it's on a 3-up save. If those benefits could be on a 2-up save, so if Chaos could take Artificer Armor, it would be really good. But because it's on a 3-up save body, I think it loses a lot of its appeal. So for me, it's questionable, but I can understand that it's very difficult for Chaos to get 2-up saves. The only real way to do it would be the Demon Heart, as I discussed, from a Crimson Slaughter, but we will discuss if it's possible to get Demon Heart in this list soon. Then Jarrod's gone with the Herald. Exalted Locus of Wrath gives the unit hatred. So he's kind of operating in like the same way that like a chaplain or a Dark Apostle would work. But he's also on a Juggernaut, so he gets all the benefits of the Juggernaut and once again has cavalry. So he's got fleet. Jarrod's just gone with the small units of cultists. With obviously they come with the Mark of Khorne. They're good. They're blood tithe points. They're objective secured. They can hold objectives. They're very cheap, which I like. Then he's gone with his somewhat optional choice of the Chaos Bikers. Units of 5 with double Melter Gun and Lightning Claw on the mandatory champion, as well as Melter Bombs. I like this because he's gone with bigger units, which makes them more threatening and more imposing. They also have the Melter Guns, which gives a list some shooting flexibility with Melters. The Lightning Claw is good for combat, just to get in there. 15-point weapons with Shred. Very reliable. I think Shred's quite good. I personally feel like Lightning Claws are better than Power Swords. They do have the single attack less, but because Chaos Bikers with Mark of Khorne have Rage, I think that the Rage makes the Lightning Claw a lot better than the Power Sword. So I really like these Lightning Claws. And Melter Bombs are good because you can follow up that Melter Gun volley. So if you shoot at something like a Predator and it's on 1 hull point left, you can assault it and try to finish it off with the Melter Bombs. He's got 2 units of those. I think they're good. They're aggressive. They support his Death Star, and they're obviously, once again, blood tithe points. Flesh Hounds, big unit of 20. That's the right way to run them. Maximize their footprint. So obviously they don't have upgrades. They're just the Flesh Hounds. Then he's got another Combined Arms detachment. This time it's Chaos Space Marines. And before I go on to that, actually, I did want to discuss something else. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I just want to discuss an alternative weapon that could have been taken for the Chaos Lord. And it's something that a lot of players will oversee or they might not really look at. You can take this weapon called the Blade of Endless Bloodshed for 35 points. It's just an AP3 power, so it's a power sword effectively. Power sword we know is 15 points, so it's 20 points more than a power sword. But at the end of an assault phase in which you inflict one or more casualties with the bearer, so it doesn't have to be with the weapon itself, you generate an additional blood tithe point. So you could put this sword on an IC with a power axe or a power fist and use that other weapon, the AP2 weapon, to actually get your casualties. But then you get a blood tithe point for causing a casualty with the bearer. So this is an interesting way to improve blood tithe generation. If you are kind of thinking about, you feel like there'll be, if you play games with KDK, sometimes you'll play a game and you'll have a really momentous turn where you really wanted that extra blood tithe point, you just couldn't get it. And, you'll kind of think, oh, I should have taken the big detachment with, the Murder Horde and all that kind of stuff. But another way to do it is through this Blade of Bloodshed. It is 20 points more than a power sword, but it's an interesting mechanic that overturns things like, turns 2 and 3, when you might be, for example, assault on turn 2, stay in assault in your opponent's assault phase, hit and run out, and then assault again. In those 2 assault phases, so it could be if you have first turn, you assault on turn 2, get a blood tithe. Then in your opponent's turn 2, you get another blood tithe. Then you hit and run out. You've generated 2 blood tithe in 1 turn from this weapon. So this is a weapon that can actually be the difference between, like I said, popping Feel No Pain, being able to pop it really regularly, being able to get to that Demon Prince or Bloodthirster by turn 3 or 4. Without something like this, it's pretty hard. So if you said to me, can the Blade of Endless Bloodshed let my KDK army summon let's just say a Demon Prince, summon a Demon Prince on turn 4 instead of turn 5, I would say yes, that makes it worth the 20 points over a power sword easily, because that Demon Prince entering the game a turn earlier will well and truly pay for itself for the blade. So that's an interesting thing to think about. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's a must take, but it's something that definitely you can have at the back of your mind. So then we've looked at this KDK detachment. Now we're going to go down and have a look at Chaos Marines. He's taken Chaos Lord. Once again, he's got it on the Juggernaut, and he's going with the Axe of Blind Fury. Now, this is his beat stick. So if we go and have a look at what the Axe of Blind Fury does, Axe of Blind Fury is a generic Chaos Space Marines relic. It's +2 strength and AP2, so it's like a beefed up power axe at initiative. And it has Demon Weapon, so it's another +D6 attacks. And it also gives the bearer rage. So it doesn't matter. So effectively, a lot of obviously if you have it because it has to be on the Mark of Khorne, that rage rule is only relevant if it's on a Demon of Khorne. But if it is on your Chaos Lord, he already has rage, so that doesn't matter. He's got, on that Juggernaut, he's got 4 base attacks, +1 for pistol, so he's up to 5, +2 for assaulting, he's up to 7. Demon Weapon can give him up to 13 attacks. So it's a lot of attacks at +2 strength, AP2. Very, very powerful character, very strong as a beat stick. I think that it's very welcome inclusion into a big unit that kind of lacks AP2. So I think that while it is kind of an expensive kind of IC, I mean that Blade of Fury is only 35 points, but it does reduce it's worth noting it does reduce his weapon skill by 1. So he'll more or less be hitting on 4s a lot of the time. But that's why to go back to that Loci of Wrath. Sorry, is it Loci of Wrath? Sorry, Locus of Wrath. It makes that Locus of Wrath a lot better when you are only hitting on 4s. So getting those rerolls is really important. So I quite like this little combo Jarrod's got going with the Hatred combined with Axe of Blind Fury on this Chaos Lord. Then he's got Cypher. Cypher obviously providing hit and run Shrouded as we discussed. And also has Fleet. So far all his ICs The three of them that are on, the Juggernauts have fleet, Cypher's got fleet, and the dogs have fleet. So he's got a whole unit with fleet here. Very, very nifty combo. A lot of players won't see it coming. A lot of players wouldn't even think to combine those together. Very, very competitive and very powerful. Fleet is an amazing special rule. Very underrated. Then he's got 2 units of minimum cultists with champion and 2 units of havocs. 1 unit of 5, 1 unit of 6 with 4 autocannons each. Provides some good long range shooting. Strength 8 is a very relevant strength value. A lot of output, so 8 shots each. I personally prefer, when you're running 4 heavy weapons in a squad of havocs, I prefer having a few more ablative wounds. So I like the squad with the 6 ablative wounds. I would like to see about 7 ablative wounds, because once you have those extra couple of ablative wounds, you make your opponent have to invest a lot more to get returned. Because a lot of things that can reach backfield havocs don't have a high shot output. So what I mean by that is, if someone wants to shoot your havocs, they'll often shoot it with things like las cannons, bright lancers, quite low volume shots. So simply having 1 or 2 extra ablative wounds is often enough, especially if they're in cover as well with cover saves, will be enough to deter your opponent from shooting them. So I really like the extra ablative wounds. I would have liked to see them both have 7, models per unit, or potentially 1 less autocannon per unit to balance it a little bit. But I can understand that Jarrod's pretty tight on points in his list. So he's got the 2 detachments. Obviously, he doesn't generate Blood Tithe points from this second Chaos detachment. That's fine. These cultists, can be played in a way that they're not disposable. So we can put these out of line of sight on objectives, so that he didn't really want them to die anyway for Blood Tithe. So I don't really mind the fact that they don't generate Blood Tithe points. And yeah, it's a very clean list. There's not very much you can look at here and say, oh, that's fat, that needs to be cut. I think the bikers are definitely an optional choice. A lot of players just wouldn't take the bikers. But with, Rage on the Assault, with the Melters, and the following it up with the Lightning Claw and Melter Bomb, it makes them a unit that needs to be dealt with. But often when you look at Jarrod's army, you really want to be dealing with that Death Star. So the bikes will often go unmolested, and then we'll be able to go in and really have an effect. So I like the bikes. I like the list in general. The only kind of criticism or thing that I really feel the list needs is a 2-up armor save on a 4-wound character. I think if you're going to have, in any codex almost, if you have a 4-wound kind of tanking style character in a Death Star, you really should have at least 1 with the 2-up armor save. Sometimes it's just not possible. But in this army, it was possible. And the way it was possible was for Jarrod to take a Crimson Slaughter Lord. So if we look here at this detachment, we'll notice that Jarrod actually does have 2 HQ slots available. So what he could have done is basically just drop this KDK Lord. All it really is a Lord with Lightning Claw and Power Fist. The only unique thing to the Lord is Bloodforged Armor. I'm not a massive fan of Bloodforged Armor. And I think trading it for the Demon Heart is a 2-up armor save and it will not die. For, I believe it's 30 points or 35 points. So it actually comes in cheaper than Bloodforged Armor. So I think that it's a straight up superior piece of war gear, especially on a 4-wound model, because you get more value out of the 2-up save and it will not die. Eternal Warrior is not that important when you're toughness 5. It is still good to have, but there are so many Flesh Hounds in the unit that he can just take any wound that might have been threatening to ID his lords. He can just take on these hounds if he really wants. So I would have liked to see, as I said, Demon Heart. He can do this by moving this lord from being a HQ in his KDK CAD. He moves it out and leaves the Herald as the Warlord, which is fine. And he creates a 3rd detachment, which is an allied Crimson Slaughter detachment. Then what he does is he changes the 2nd CAD into another allied detachment. So he's got Khorne Demonkin CAD, which remains the same minus the Lord. Then he takes Chaos Marines allies. So if we look at this, Cypher's allowed to stay. Cypher doesn't actually count as a HQ slot. So Cypher can stay in an allied detachment with this Chaos Lord. And then he moves 1 unit of cultists and 1 unit of havocs into a Crimson Slaughter allied detachment with that Lord. So you create a third detachment that's just got a Lord, one Cultist unit, and one Havoc unit. So that all works out. He saves some points on the weapon. So he'd save 15 points effectively by swapping Bloodforged Armor for the Demon Heart. Those points... so I would leave it the same. I would leave the config the same. Leave it with everything else. And then you just basically spend those points on maybe taking another Havoc to pull the second unit up to a 6 model unit. It's a very clean transition. Now let's look at how that would affect Jarrod's comp. If we look at Jarrod's comp score... Now at this point we zoom out a little bit. Jarrod has got... he's running an 8 comp. He's spending that comp on 2 for fast assault units. So that's specifically his dogs. He's spending 3 on Cypher. So that's 5. Then he spends 1 for the second CAD. 1 for model count. He's at 83 models. So he's within that 75 to 124 bracket. And he spends 1 on having 4 independent characters. I think that all of those, expenditures are fine. I don't really have a problem with them. He can't really cut models efficiently. There's no real gaps to really say, okay, let's cut some models. He could drop Cultists, but if he drops Cultists, he loses the allied detachments. Then he struggles to fit in the Havocs and things like that. If it's worth noting that if Jarrod did the suggestion I said with the Demon Heart, he would lose a comp for taking 2 combined arm detachments, and he would spend another comp on taking a 4 wound fast model with a 2-up armor save. So it would be a lateral transition. He would lose a comp on 2 CADs, but he would gain a comp for the 2-up save on 4 wounds. So it would remain an 8 comp list, and he would effectively just be swapping Bloodforged Armor for Demon Heart. His Warlord would become the Herald, which I'm fine with, and his Crimson Slaughter Lord would not be generating Blood Tithe, would not have the ability to generate Blood Tithe, which I don't really have a problem with, to be honest. I think the situations where this Chaos Lord might generate Blood Tithe about killing, it could be killing champions, but I think the Herald has the same capacity to do that a lot of the time. So I think very often it'll be very, very similar lateral kind of situation, but Jarrod would gain a 2-up armor save. It will not die 4 wound Lord with it, with that. It will not die, and that he's not his Warlord, which makes it a little bit disposable. He can put that at the front. He can tank for Hounds. If the Flesh Hounds are not receiving a 2-up cover save, then you take the wounds on the 2-up armor save. That, over the course of, a few volleys of shots, could be saving in the vicinity of 4 to 5 Hounds. Especially in the situation that you're receiving things like Strength 8 shots. Because Strength 8 shots, to look at something like an autocannon shot, autocannon shot would be IDing Flesh Hounds, but it's not IDing the Juggernaut Lord. So Juggernaut Lord can just be taking 2-up saves and, tanking these autocannon shots that would be IDing the Flesh Hounds that might be having 3-up cover saves. So all in all, I think the list is really tight, really effective. The only thing I would do would make that swap. I think Jarrod's going to do really well with this list. I think having such a massive Death Star that has fleet, got your 4 ICs in the unit that all have fleet. I think that's amazing. It's almost unheard of, really, in a unit that also has fleet. So it's such a powerful combo that a lot of players won't see it coming, and I think that it really will have an effect on a game. If it makes a difference between succeeding in a turn to assault and failing a turn to assault, I think that could be the difference between winning and losing a game. So well done, Jarrod, for spotting that little synergy. It's really effective and capitalizing on it. I really like that Herald as well with the rerolls. So I think he's done really well to make a very characterful but very efficient KDK army. So well done, Jarrod. And I wish you the very best at Terracon. Thanks for submitting your list. Thanks for watching, guys. And once again, thanks to Dean from Blog for the Blood God for supporting this video. See you next time. Cheers.